Hey guys, Phil here at Wood Street Farm. Today I am due for some maintenance on this Cub Cadet Ultima ZT2 mower. If you've been following our channel for a while, you've seen we got this mower last year. We've put about 60 hours on it so far. Put a new set of blades on it earlier this spring. I'll drop a link to that video in the description just below this one if you want to go back and check that out. But I'm due for an oil change. You're supposed to do an oil change every 50 hours. I did a drain and fill, but I did not change the filter at 10 hours. That was at the dealer's recommendation. I don't know if it actually says that in the manual or not, but to flush out the factory oil and any machine shavings or anything like that from the manufacturing process, you are supposed to change the oil early on. So I did that, but I didn't change the filter. So today we're doing oil and filter, and we'll go around the mower. We'll check everything else. We'll check the air filter. We'll check the tire pressure. And after we do all that, this mower should be pretty good to go for the rest of the season. So let's get into it. The oil drain on this thing is real convenient, real easy to get to. There's actually this rubber hose that comes out of the engine right there, goes through the frame and comes out down here. Right there. You just undo that little nut that's on the end of that hose and your oil drains out. I already took care of that, so you don't need to watch that. Next thing we need to do is remove the oil filter, which is right there above the hose. So hopefully I can get that off by hand because there's not a lot of room to work with a filter wrench in there. So let's see. Let's put some paper towels there under the filter because I have a feeling it's going to drop some oil. Let's see if we can get this off by hand. Maybe. All right, we're gonna need to use a wrench. All right, I couldn't actually get the wrench in there anywhere, but I was able to get two hands on it and loosen it up. So there we go. Alright, so I just unboxed the new filter. This one that the dealer gave me ends in 7010, and this one that came off ends in 7007. So they're different model number, different sizes. This one's taller than this one's fatter. I called the dealer and they insisted that this one will work. They actually said this one, the 7010, is the more professional filter and it works with all the engines, and they said this is more the cheaper filter, and they said they don't even stock these even though they've sold lots of these mowers. So they insist that it works. I told them if it doesn't work and this leaks out oil everywhere, they're gonna hear it from me. But if we set up the two surfaces here close together, it looks like this rubber gasket that's on this filter is considerably wider than this one. So the question just becomes, how does this surface mate up against that machined flat surface that's on the side of the engine? So we'll go ahead and see how it works. Alright, as we always do with filters, I just put a little bit of fresh oil on my fingertip here and got that oiled up. And then we'll just thread this on. And then we'll go ahead and put in 2 quarts of oil. It's supposed to have a capacity of 2.1 quarts. I only bought 2. I'll put in most of the second bottle and then I'll check it. When you're checking the oil level, it actually says here at the dipstick, for the correct level, do not turn the cap on the threads. You're supposed to just put this in and not tighten it. Alright, and as you expect, I don't know if you can see it, but we're just a little bit low. We're within the operating range though, so it'd be safe to operate the mower like this. So I'll go ahead and put in the rest of the second quart. Oil level again. And now it actually says it's a smidge over full. There's a level right there by the F. I'm not on completely flat ground here, so what I'll end up doing is I'll start the mower, I'll drive it around for a second, I'll try to get it somewhere flatter, and I'll check it again. Alright, next up we'll check the tire pressure. It's only supposed to be about 10 psi at the most. That's where that one is. When I got my mower from the dealer, it had over 30 psi in it. The ride was terrible, the traction was terrible. So I discovered after a few weeks of running it, that was actually way too much. And once I lowered it down to 10, the ride improved, the traction improved. The only issue that I have with these tires is that I have gotten a couple flats. These are only 4-ply tires, but I put slime in these tires last year and haven't had a problem since. These front tires are supposed to be up to 23 psi. That was actually way hard. That one's over 30. Alright, well with my mower, I got 2 books. One for the engine and then the manual for the mower itself. So I'm double checking both to make sure that I covered all of this season's maintenance. So in the book here it says there's actually nothing at 50 hours, which surprised me because I thought the oil was supposed to be done at 50 hours, but maybe that's not the case. Anyway, we went ahead and did it. So here we're at daily. It says check the oil, check for loose nuts and bolts, check for fuel and oil leakage, check battery electrolyte level. Never done that. Check or clean the air inlet screen. I've done that a few times. Clean the air cleaner paper element every 100 hours, and then it says over here every 200 hours is when, wait, clean, replace. Yeah, I don't have to replace the air cleaner element until 200 hours, it says. I've cleaned it out a few times. You know, we use this out of the farm, and a lot of times when it's dry or when the grass is really high and it has all the seed heads on it and everything, there's a lot more debris that gets sucked up into the air cleaner. So I've cleaned this out a few times already. We'll do it again today. I'll show you. Clean dust and dirt from cylinder and cylinder head fins. Yeah, I've never done that. Alright, so the cylinder head, because it's an air-cooled engine, there are some fins. They're actually down underneath the air cleaner element. Over here, I'll show you here in a second. And a couple times I have actually hosed off the whole engine. So I think they're going to end up being pretty clean, but we'll check them out. I'll give you a close look at those here in a second. And that's pretty much it. Clean and re-gap spark plugs is the only other thing that is labeled at 100 hours. So I'm not there yet, and it seems to be running fine, so we're going to not mess with the spark plugs today. Next up, let's double check the operator's manual and see if there's any additional maintenance items specified in here. Alright, so here in the operator's manual, page 16, it has a nice little service chart, and on here, I'm just going to jump ahead to the 25 and 50 hour marks. At 25 hours, it's recommended that you inspect and lube the deck wheels. Those are the front, small wheels up front. Or no, excuse me, that's the actual deck wheels. I've never lubed the deck wheels. The front drive wheels, the ones that I put air in on the front of the mower, there is a grease port on the axle of those, and I put some grease in it last year. I haven't done it yet this year, but I don't have my grease gun with me today, so next time I have the mower out at the farm, I'll grab the grease gun and I'll shoot those up. Check deck level and pitch. Oh, we'll need to do that. I haven't done that yet. Check the belts for damage and wear. That's every 50 hours. Check engine mounting bolt torque. Don't have my torque wrench here, so we're not going to do that. Okay, and here's actually where I got the 50 hour number from. So this manual recommends that you replace the oil and the filter first at 5 hours, and then again at 50, and every 50 after that. But the actual engine manual says 100 hours is fine. So if you're replacing somewhere between 50 and 100, you're probably fine. It's also recommended that we replace the fuel filter at 50 hours. I'm going to double check and see if the actual Kawasaki manual recommended that. I don't remember seeing that. So as far as the Kawasaki manual goes, there's no fuel filter recommendation in here on this table. And I just flipped through the rest of the maintenance section. Oh, it's here on the last page. Fuel filter. The fuel filter cannot be disassembled. If the fuel filter gets clogged, replace it with a new one. The fuel pump cannot be disassembled. If the fuel pump fails, replace it with a new one. So it actually doesn't say anything about a change interval other than if it doesn't work, change it. So it's Cub Cadet's recommendation in the other manual that you change it every 50 hours anyway. I don't have one, so I'll do that eventually some other time, not today. All right, so this is where the air cleaner element is. Flip that up, you pull this out. There's actually a little wing nut here on my right side, on the other side from where the camera is. You loosen that. That loosens this hose clamp. There's your wing nut. And with the hose clamp loosened, this air cleaner element can come out. Like that. There actually is just a little bit of junk right under there. You get all that out of there. And you can see this air cleaner is not that dirty. But I will go ahead and take the air compressor to it and blow out what I can. And then we'll go ahead and put it back. Alright, so I have the regulator on my compressor turned way down, so it's only putting out 40 psi right now. And I'm going to start by blowing from the inside of this air filter. You can see the dust coming out. And then I'm just going to blow across the fins of the air filter from the outside. I'm not trying to blow the dirt into the filter, but I'm just trying to blow across it so anything that's loose on the surface can get blown away. Alright, I'll go from the inside one more time. Oh, look at that. Blowing across it obviously loosened up a lot of dirt. Alright, I'm back over here at the mower. We can just slide that back in place. Tighten up on that hose clamp. Wonder if this will close with the wing nut at the top. Let's see. Nope. There's a reason this was around the other side. Alright, so the exterior cooling fins, we can look down in here, everything in there is clean. There's no debris in there. And then along the outside of the engine, there's actually, along the engine housing, there are some fins along the outside of this metal. You want to make sure that those are clean. And then there's some fins right down in here. You look right up in there, there's a number of different fins. These all just provide cooling for the engine, so you want to make sure that those don't get full of dirt and debris. Alright, well next I want to measure and make sure that the deck is properly leveled. And there are adjustments to level it from side to side, and there's adjustments to level it from front to back. So we're going to go ahead and try to check the side to side level first. This is actually a little tricky to see, because what you want to do is open this up, turn your blades so that you can access it, and measure the height of the blade off the ground. This side where the discharge is pretty straightforward. I can look in there and I can see that I'm right at 2 7/8. But if I go to the other side, it's not as easy. This side, there's obviously no discharge. So what am I supposed to do? I can reach under, I can feel where my blade is, but I don't have an easy way to get in there and double check the height. So I can put my tape measure on it like this, and it's going to be hard to do to hold the camera and do this. But if I put that up there, you see that bend in the tape measure is right about at the 3-inch mark, maybe even a little bit after it. So that would lead me to believe that this side of the deck is a little bit higher than the other side. So I'm going to go ahead and try to raise that other side. Alright, I actually decided I'm going to go ahead and try to lower this side of the deck that measured a little bit higher. So these are your adjustment bolts to raise or lower. There's one on each side of the deck. So if you can't really tell where I'm at in the camera, I'm just below the driver's controls. This is the back point at which the deck attaches to the mower. So you have this screw here that's sticking up. So there's a nut on top of that bolt and there's a nut underneath. So I think the first thing I need to do is figure out the size and loosen this nut on the top. Yep, that will do it. Okay, with that done, I should be able to you can actually start to see it. If you look closely right here, you can see the deck move up or down as I move the wrench back and forth. I don't know if you can see that. So, I'm just going to go down about 2 turns, I think, is all it's going to be. Yep. There was a little scuff mark right there, and I could tell that I was able to lower it about maybe between a 1/16 and an 1/8 of an inch. Tighten that back up, and then I'll double check the measurement at the blade. Alright, well, I got the adjustment side to side right. I actually had to tweak with it. I edited it out, but keep in mind the deck is attached on both sides. And it's one piece, so when you loosen one side or you lower one side, it's actually changing the angle of the other side. So I lowered down the left side too much because the right side ended up coming up just a little bit. So I had to make some adjustments to get them back in place, but it was reasonably easy to measure the way that I did and double check my measurement and get everything balanced out. And you saw how easy it was to turn that adjustment screw to get it where it needed to be. Next up is to measure the front to back level. We're basically going to follow the same process, except we're going to turn this blade so that it's parallel to the frame of the mower. Then we're going to measure the height off the ground on the front of the blade, and we'll measure the height off the ground on the back of the blade. The manual actually says the front of the blade is supposed to be a little bit lower than the back of the blade. I think it said 2 to 6 millimeters, or between a 1/16 and an 1/8 of an inch. So I don't know exactly how I'm supposed to measure it that precisely, but if it's close and the front's not higher than the back, then I'm just going to leave it where it is. The same deal, pretty easy to measure here through this side where the discharge chute is. I've got the front at 2 7/8. I'm gonna get something to hold this up. Alright, so I think I can probably get this over there in front of the blade on the back side. A little bit tricky. Alright, in my case, I had 2 7/8 on the front, and I had 2 3/4 on the rear. So you actually need to change it quite a bit. The front needs to go down. I'm just double checking the manual here. It does say the front should be between a 1/16 and 1/4 lower than the rear. So let's take a look at how we lower the front of the deck. Alright, that adjustment is here. So the way that we're going to adjust the front to back level, this is the only adjustment here on the front of the mower. There's a jam nut on the front that I already loosened up, and let me double check this just to show you. It is 19 millimeter wrench for both of these, and all we got to do in order to lower this is loosen these nuts. That's going to move the nuts up the thread. It's going to lengthen the length of this piece of linkage that's back here, and that would end up lowering the front of the deck. And that has it at 2 3/4, where we were at 2 7/8 on the front before. So I think that should be good enough. The back before was on 2 3/4. You know what, I'm gonna do just a little bit more. That should do it. And make sure this doesn't loosen up. There's just this jam nut. So you lock these two nuts together. That should hold it in place. All right, the last thing I'm gonna do here is just run it, take it around the yard real quick, let it warm up, bring it back here to a level surface and check the oil level, and then I think we should be done. All right, so after running it, letting it warm up, and then looking at it, you can see here it's just about 3/4. I guess to be expected to be just a little bit low after it has a 2.1 capacity and we only put 2 quarts in it. So, but it's within the safe range. I actually have some more oil out at the farm, so next time I'm out there I'll add a little bit in it, but it'll be good to go for another 50 hours or so. Well, thanks for checking us out today. If you got any questions about this mower, how we use it, any of the maintenance stuff, let me know. I feel like I'm kind of well versed now that I read through both of those manuals. Probably should have started with that. I really just set out today to do the oil change, and then I figured, well, I'm at it, might as well double check and see what else I'm supposed to be doing right now. So the only other thing that I couldn't really get to was that fuel filter. I'll probably just keep an eye on it. I know I only buy quality fuel, so that fuel filter hopefully is in really good shape. Curious to hear what you guys do. Is that a preventative thing that you go ahead and do every year, every so many hours, or you kind of just wait until the mower starts acting up to replace it? I don't know. Let me know what you guys do, what you guys think, and maybe I'll use your information to influence my future maintenance behavior on this mower. So that's all for today, guys. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.